I tell y'all what, this South Georgia weather is crazy. Here we are the second week in January. It was 34 degrees this morning, had a little light frost on the plants. And then look at there, almost 70 degrees, almost a 40-degree swing from morning to afternoon. That's just crazy. These poor old plants don't know what to do. They don't know what time of year it is, going from 34 degrees to 70 degrees. But I digress. Today, we're going to be fertilizing our onions, and I'm going to show you how to do it and show you which tools we use to do it that makes it really easy. If this is your first time on our channel, welcome. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and hit that little bell notification button so you'll get notified every time we come out with a new video. And if you are a frequent viewer of our channel, it's always good to have you back. So here's our big allium plot, and we've got leeks, shallots, elephant garlic, and about 10 or 11 rows of onions. The other day I was out here and I came to the realization that I went a little overboard with the onions. I just got the fever and I just kept planting onions and leeks and I didn't know when to stop, and now we've got a lot. We've got all these planted on double rows. We've got our drip tape buried there beneath those double rows, and everything's growing pretty good in here. I just got in here the other day and cultivated, got everything weeded and cleaned up. It's time to shoot some juice to them. So lately I've had a lot of viewers on our YouTube channel and people on our customer service line asking for me to do a video on how to set up our EZ-FLO fertilizer injector. That's the tool we use the most to fertilize because it just makes it really easy to inject your water soluble fertilizer into that drip system, and it makes the plants pop really quick. So today I want to show you all the pieces of that, how we take it out of the box, set it up, install it, and then we're going to fertilize these onions. Before we set up that EZ-FLO, let's talk about my water setup here. So this is my well, and the spigot off my well here, I've got this 4-way ran here, and I've got one hose here that runs to my little vegetable washing station, and there's Chloe back there. And then the other outlets here I use to water or feed my garden. So I've got this hose that goes to a garden going that way. These I'll use to feed gardens going that way. And then one of these I'll leave that fertilizer injector hooked on it. Then I can just move my hose to the injector line when I want to fertilize. And when I don't, I'll put it back over here so it can just have straight water. Now, if your water pressure is 50 pounds or less, you want to install the EZ-FLO right here at the spigot, and then the hose is going to run down to the garden where that drip irrigation system starts. We can see here my pressure is right at 50, maybe just a hair over, so I'm okay. That's why I set mine up here at the well. If your pressure is over 50 psi, you're either going to need something at your well to knock that pressure down before you install the EZ-FLO, or you can put it downstream of your drip pressure regulator there. I highly recommend putting it at the spigot at your well. That way you don't have to move the EZ-FLO around to different plots if you have different plots. You just leave it in one spot, and then you're just moving the water hose that is getting fed by that EZ-FLO. All right, so we got our 2-gallon EZ-FLO box here. We'll open it up and see what's inside. We do have two different versions of this fertilizer injector. We have a 2-gallon tank and a 3/4 gallon tank. Most people choose to go with the 2-gallon tank just because it holds more fertilizer. If you got a really small garden, just a few raised beds, you probably want to go with that smaller 3/4 gallon tank. If y'all hear any background noise, I apologize. My wife's uncle is building an island for his pond. Yeah, an island for his pond. That's how you know when you done ran out of things to spend money on. But anyways, there's a bulldozer running not too far from here, so if you hear that, I apologize. Let's dig in. So we got our instruction manual here. We'll look at that in just a second. Some advertisement. This is our parts kit here. This contains our hose bib and our tubes that are going to run to our tank. And then we've got our tank lid here. So this is the cap for the tank, and it's got two little hoses that run from it. One is an agitator, so water is going to be shooting into the tank from your water supply, keeping that tank agitated, keeping everything mixed up real well. And then this is the siphon part, which is going to be sucking up that water-soluble fertilizer and injecting it into your water supply so you can feed your plants. And then here, we've got our tank. So this is what's going to hold that water-soluble fertilizer. And like I said, the way it works is water gets injected into this tank, and then water plus fertilizer gets injected out of it. On your tank cap here, you got 4 different settings: slow, 1, 2, and fast, and a little dial where you can change that. That's going to control the rate of injection or the rate of fertilizer that you're putting out. I always just put it on the fast setting, but if you're going to water something for a very, very long time, you might want to go on the slower setting. But like I said, I always just put it on the fast, and that works for me. And on the cap here, you've got 2 different color washers. You've got a blue washer, which is your inline, and then this little green washer, which is your outline. So the blue line is going to be the water from your water supply going into the tank. The green washer line is going to be the water plus fertilizer going into that water hose down to the garden to feed those plants. In our parts kit here, we've got our clear line, which is going to run on this green washer here. That's going to allow us to be able to see if the fertilizer is actually leaving the tank and getting injected in the water hose. We've got our black line, which is going to run into this in washer here. This is just pumping water into the tank. We've got this piece here, which is called the hose bib connector. So one end of this is going to hook up to your spigot or your 4-way in my case. The other end of this is going to hook up to your water hose that's running to your garden. And the 2 little lines here are going to hold that black line and that green line that's running to the tank. And then in this little bag here, we've got these little black inline valves, and those are going to be important for setting up the kind of vacuum pressure we need in this tank to pull that fertilizer or siphon that fertilizer and water out of the tank. So we'll put those in the middle of these lines here in just a second. And then lastly, in the parts kit, you've got these tiny little rubber discs that are called flow discs. And what these are used for are in situations where you're not running that much drip tape at one point in time. Maybe you're just fertilizing a couple lines instead of the whole garden. You're going to want to use these flow discs. Now, like I said, whether you use the flow disc or not is going to depend on how much drip tape you're fertilizing at a time. In our handy dandy manual here, it tells you if you're fertilizing or running less than 120 gallons per hour of tape, then you need to use one of the flow discs. And it tells you which color flow disc to use based on what kind of water output you're doing. Our drip tape puts out 0.4 gallons of water per minute per 100 feet, which comes to about 24 gallons per hour per 100 feet. And I've did the math for you. If you're running less than 500 feet of our tape, if you're fertilizing less than 500 feet of our tape at a time, you're going to need to use one of these flow discs. Now, I've got about 800 feet in that onion plot that I'm going to be fertilizing, so I don't need to use the flow disc. But if you're just doing 500 feet or less, you're going to need to use one of these flow discs. And those flow discs just install on this hose bib connector here, and you'll just put whatever color flow disc you need based on how many drip tape or how much drip tape you have running. Okay, so let's put this bad boy together. We're going to start off with our black line here, which is our in line, and get it out of this zip tie here. We're going to unwrap it. And we're going to take the black line and we're going to stick it on the end with this blue washer here, our end line. And you just stick it in there and it will fasten tight and you can't pull it out. So once you stick it in there good, it's in there. And then we want to take this black line and install our inline valve on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it kind of in the middle here. And then take one of my inline valves and I'll put one end of the valve into this piece of the black line. I'll put the other end of the valve on this piece of the black line. And then I'm gonna connect this end to my hose bib connector, and it tells you the flow here, blue or green. So black line goes in blue here. The black line's gonna go on the blue right here on this hose bib connector. So we just insert that right there, just like that. Now we need to install our clear line or our outline, which is gonna go on the green connectors. So we push one end of it into here, and then once again we're gonna cut it in half so we can install that inline valve. Get our valve out of the bag here. Put one end here and the other end here. And then this end of the hose is going to go onto the green portion of this hose bib connector here. So now we've got it set up. We've got our tank, we've got our lid, we've got the black line, which is going to shoot water into this tank. We've got our clear line, which is going to shoot water plus fertilizer into our water hose that's running to the garden where we're going to feed those plants. And then to set it up, we've got our tank right there, we've got our lid here, we've got our two lines, then our hose bib connector here. So I'm just going to put it on this piece, this outlet of the 4-way right here. Even if you don't use a 4-way, if that's a little overboard for you, I do recommend at least using a Y off your spigot. That way you have a just straight watering line and then a fertilizing line, and you can just move your water hose back and forth. It makes it a lot easier. That way you can just leave this piece right here connected. So we just need to thread that on right there, and then take our water hose here, and then we'll put our water hose on this piece of it. So when our tank's running, we're shooting water right here from this black line into the tank, and the tank is shooting water plus fertilizer through this clear line back into our water hose, which runs down to our garden. All right. So we showed you how we set up that tank. It's pretty simple and easy. You only have to do that one time and you're good to go. Now all we need to do is put some fertilizer in that tank and feed these onions. But I'm out of time for today, so you're gonna have to wait to the next video for that, and we'll show what we're gonna put in the tank, how much of it, how we mix it up, and how we fertilize those onions. I'll put some links below to our EZ-FLO fertilizer injector and our drip irrigation kit, so you can check those out. If you enjoyed this video, give me a big like, give me a big thumbs up, and give me a big share, and we will see you guys on the next video.